Did you? Let's see if you. Oh, hi!
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. How is it going? I'm glad I was able to hop on.
Yes, me too. I was a
I
little
kept on
worried.
mixing the Central Time and then the Eastern Time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. I always have to Google what time zone. So, thank you so much for being
Oh, you're
here.
welcome.
I wanted to just share how you've impacted me, and I just heard your story through Kathy Heller when
Hmm.
you were at the retreat, and I was listening to her podcast, and I love Kathy. I mean, I just want to just I wish I could just live in her house and just be around her all the time because she puts off like such a great energy, and you just want to absorb all of it. But I was listening to it and I heard your story and I just started crying. I was just like, this is just beautiful. And I could just hear in your voice, you're such an amazing soul. You're just such an amazing, pure heart. And so whenever I messaged you, I really didn't know if we would be able to connect this quickly. So I'm really happy to just have you here. And I'd love for you to just share your story. And, my mission is all about empowering women to be brave and to be courageous. So I would love for you to just share your story and really how were you able to find the power within to be confident enough to believe in yourself and go after these things that you've gone after and these amazing things that you're doing in the world.
First of all, I receive this all with all my heart. So thank you so much for all of this. And I always say Kathy just has this group that is just addicted to her because she just makes everyone shine around her. So I mean, that could be another episode just on Kathy. I usually say, we need to write a book on her legacy because she already has one. Um,
Yes, that would be amazing. Just all the stories of how, she's impacted people's lives. It's incredible.
yeah. So let's start. So I basically started my business when, and I'm sure we all have been through that path where we have had kids or something else that we are just in depression. We just feel ourselves are like this small now. There's just I often see it now that you are just out of alignment with yourself, what your soul wants, what your inner, like what your heart wants. We are not doing any of that. Um, so when I started WoWMeeM, which is I started an in-home boutique which sells Pakistani clothing, primarily South Asian. So I started it in 2019, and then COVID happened in 2020. And when I started, we were struggling financially. I wouldn't say we were struggling, but it was just like everyone needs more these days. And there was a lot of things that were on my mind, my husband's mind, and on top of it all, I was losing my mind. Even though I have these beautiful, beautiful children, I have a very loving husband, but I think because I was so out of alignment, I just was not myself. I just felt like I cannot give 100% of myself, and I think a lot of us feel that way with a
Yeah,
lot of things.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm going through that right now. I am in that moment of, oh my gosh, like what is next? I'm in this transition period where I don't feel like myself anymore and I'm trying to find that. And what I'm doing is I want to just talk to people like you and just get inspired again because I'm in that dark place right now and I'm trying to kind of crawl out of it. So just wanted to share that, but keep going.
I was so let me just rewind and go through all the feelings because you just mentioned it, and we can just, layer by layer go through it. Um, there's so much that changes in your body when you are out of alignment. You feel sick all the time. You wake up in the morning and you're like, I don't want to get out of the bed. It's another day. Another day, a lot of responsibilities. But I would suggest of reading The Way of Integrity by Martha Beck. I think that has just changed my life in so many ways because she really talks about alignment. And when we are out of alignment, our body tells us so many things, and we keep on missing. We keep on missing the red flags.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but sometimes you have to take that uncomfortable step ahead. So we were financially struggling in a sense. There was a lot of debt we didn't know how to pay off. Um, and all of a sudden I was like, okay, maybe what if we just started? And there was no research, so I'm not an ABCDE person. It's just like Z and go, and then we'll worry about ABCD later. No research, nothing. I was like, okay, these brands will work well. So the whole point of this is basically like having Ann Taylor, Gap, um, all the good brands here, and then imagine if you have them in Pakistan. So you don't have to worry about shipping. You don't have to worry about it's not fitting well. You can always, you can come in and try it on. So I started, and I have to frankly like admit, I was one of those people. Who am I to charge all this money? So when I started, like I didn't even pay myself, which was not right. And if I were to do it again, I would do it with more confidence. And Kathy wasn't in my life at that time. So that journey kind of started solo. Um, and then COVID hit in 2020. I was planning on going to Pakistan in February 2020. I took all these custom orders, which I was going to get done, bought all this inventory because I thought, I'm going, I can bring it with me. February 25th was our flight. And then 3 days before that, there were only 2 cases of COVID in California. And my husband was like, oh, should we be worried? And I was like, no, there are only 2 cases here and in Pakistan. So, like, I think a day before everything was packed, at that time, I had 2 toddlers. So everything was packed in the garage. And a day before, while I'm taking still orders, there are still clients coming in for what they want. I'm still doing consulting. I get a phone call from my husband that like the flights are canceled. They will take you there, but they don't know if you will have a flight back. And I think I still remember like sitting in the middle of my kitchen, and like I was feeling mad, I was angry, I was sad. I saw all this money just going down the drain. But one thing I think that I did sensibly at that time was I was like, okay, the flights are canceling, so therefore the logistics are gonna get messed up either way if the flights are canceling. So I got that inventory shipped in right away. Once you step into really your purpose and the business that you're in, you start making these impulsive decisions without even knowing it. We often think, oh, she got there. I don't even have anyone. I'm not going to hire anyone. I cannot afford anyone. Um, and it's not really the case. Once you just don't worry about the process, the first step is to believe in yourself and then move forward. Um, so the good part that happened was I had all this inventory here, and people wanted it for like Eid was still happening, which is our Christmas. Ramadan still came, so people needed that. Um, and I did not have a website at that time. So that year, 2020, was the year I think I have worked the hardest in my life. Um, but the great thing was I started getting out of state clients because of Facebook, because of they're doing, I still wasn't comfortable with doing lives, but I did like FaceTime and everything else. Um, but fast forward to like, it was a lot of work, and I was just like, is this really what I want to do? And I got into an accident in October 2020. We lost some people who were very close to my heart due to COVID. It was just a very overwhelming year. And then one night I just found Kathy driving home. And then just by listening to her podcast, like I think, and I have like no shame in admitting it, like my business went from like 30K to 85K. In 2021, we made $85,000. Um, but the real ingredient is to believe in yourself. And when you are getting certain messages, receive them. We often read a good book, and while we are reading it, our energy is right here. And then as soon as we are done, 3 days later, we are like, oh, but it was just them. They got lucky. They got so lucky. But one thing I would love to tell you and everyone else who's listening to this and who will listen to this later, your dreams are closer than you think they are. I started listening to Kathy, I think around the end of December 2020, and I thought I would be on her show like 6 years later. Right? I was like, okay, it's probably gonna take 6 years for me to show up in this world.
Yeah.
Look at me, like I've gained all this weight. I'm never gonna come on live. It's there's no chance. And then all I did, sometimes you have to take, all I did was just message her what she has changed for me. And it wasn't even like a long paragraph. I was like, because of you, my goal was 60K for this year. We closed books in September with 60K. Thank you so much. And I still remember her telling me, come on live, come on live. Would you come on live with me? And I was like, I've never gone live. But I was like, this is my chance of saying thank you to her. And even if I mess up, you can always delete a live. You don't have to save it. So I was like, okay, this is my chance of just showing up. And I showed up. And the next day, I still remember, I was like, it would be so cool if she were to use this as her podcast episode. And 2 days later, Emma reached out to me, her producer, and she was like, would you mind if we use this? And I was like, no. She was like, if you want to cancel, I was like, no, just go ahead. And then the rest is history. Like I came up with Let's Come Forward right away because I had so many women who reached out and who got so much encouragement. And then you realize it's time to get up and stand up for other women.
Yeah.
And that's when you there are certain people who have pictures from Africa on their work table because that's what gives them motivation. I don't care what it is, find a purpose and just focus on that and make things happen. I was always very, just like you, it just lit my heart on fire when we talk about women empowerment because I think there are so many shadows upon us and we try to put them on us. But women change. They change history. They change generations. They make so much impact. Um, just like this morning, you probably haven't heard about the food project that I started. So I was at Kathy's retreat in August. We were doing this meditation. She was like, think of like, a dream home or something like that. So I have this home with the pool, this beautiful home in LA. I'm in Virginia right now, but West Coast is somewhere where I want to be eventually. And I'm just imagining that home. And then she was like, now walk into your purpose. And right away, there was a shift. I was sitting on the ground on my, like a very, like just on ground with kids who I am feeding and they're smiling at me. And I was like, this is what I always wanted to do as a kid. Like my 7-year-old came alive again. And she was like, yes, this is what you wanted to do, which is a sign right here. We forget. We often forget who we are. I mean, a few weeks back, I used to write poetry a lot in high school and college. And almost 10 years later, I just went back to my notes and I saw it and I just started crying because I forgot about all of it. We forget ourselves in so many things, the responsibilities that we put on ourselves. So that was August 3rd when I saw myself feeding children and them smiling at me. We started a project there was one pilot project I was already doing, supporting someone where we hired a cook and we were supporting that woman with like entrepreneurship so she can start cooking as a business. So she was making meals 3 times a month, but nothing serious. And I was like, okay, so that thing is already going on. I introduced my page, I think 2 weeks ago, where I made a website where I wrote down a few things that what we are doing of, the meals we are serving meals to the people who cannot afford food anymore. They don't have it on the table. They either pick it up from the streets or they just go home hungry. I was inspired by one of the stories. I was told that one of the maids, like, she didn't have money for that night, and she just put boiling water on the stove, and told her children something is cooking, and everyone went to sleep just thinking they would get food. Um, so one thing I do want to put out there, when we think of world hunger, we think of like, oh my goodness, it's such a huge project. This will never be over, so therefore there's no reason for me to just
Yeah.
come.
And what can I
I,
do? Yeah.
what can I
Mm-hmm.
do? Like, I'm not, just by feeding one family, I'm not changing the world. But for that one family, you just change the world. When she knows that she will have food to give it to her kids and everyone will go to sleep not hungry, that's where you have just changed their world. So within the past 3 weeks, we have been able to hire another woman who's a cook, who gets paid to be a cook. Local businesses are being promoted because we buy our groceries and everything from local businesses. And this morning, I just was speaking to one of them, and they told me they found a school which the kids don't have the means for lunch. So now we are going to be feeding those kids. There are 125 kids in that school. And to keep it very real, when I hired the second person, there was good 2 days of depression right away, because your ego kicks in and tells you, like, who do you think you are to feed all these people and to make jobs and like to, but it's not me. I have gotten donations from where I never expected. One of the ladies on Instagram, I will put her work up sooner today, later today, but I have never spoken to her. We never connected, but she put up one of her paintings last month, and she was like, 10% of it will go to WoWMeeM for their project. And she just sent me money 3 days ago, and she was like, it was sold, and I'm accountable for it.
I have chills. That's
And those
amazing.
$110 are can feed easily 25 families.
Wow.
We don't understand, like, when we are sitting in a first world country, how much a dollar can mean. And I would highly encourage you to even start with $1.
Mhm.
And that $1 in Pakistan would mean bread for the entire family for that day. So back to everything else, I think I used to mistake that. We often think, like, just because a person looks like different than us, they probably have different capabilities. We as women are going through the same thing. You and I, if we sit down, there will be so many connections we can't even imagine. But because of the divisions, because of everything else, we are not like just joining hands. When I think of Let's Come Forward, every time I close my eyes, I see like just women in a circle and just bringing each other and lifting each other up. And that's all what we need to do. And you just see how many doors we can open for ourselves. And it doesn't have to be like a business venture. It doesn't have to be dollars. It doesn't have to be something materialistic. There are certain messages that I've gotten which have changed my life like no other. Just a minute of your voice or a text message of appreciating, if you appreciate someone online, if you appreciate, anyone they work for you. We often worry about the numbers of followers or that you have a podcast. But if only one person listens to it and get this message, you have done your work, my friend. If you just change one aspect of one thought, your work is done. And that one thought is going to be thankful to you forever. We talk about Kathy, but I often think about it. We need more Kathys. And that's her whole thing, that she gives her 100% so she can see more Kathy Hellers. walking around, and we can lift each other up.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. It's amazing. It's just, and it's like something that's been on my heart recently is just owning who you are, and allowing yourself to just be yourself
Hmm.
and share that message that you have with the world.
Yep.
So,
And this is something which I love about podcasting is the fact that how quickly we connect and how quickly we become friends. And
mhm.
Kathy has been talking about it. Her podcast program is coming up as well. Um, but it's just the easiest way to share stories. It's no longer like, a story stays within that community. You can spread the word around like no other. There's so many ways to help. There's so many, just, it's just, life has gotten so much easier in a sense where if I want to raise money, all I have to do is send you a link. All I have to do is just post it online and it will reach people it's meant to reach. And you are so resourceful with all of this technology that we have. All we got to do is just move the blocks that are within us. I think there's so much resistance. Even with me 3 years in a product based business, every time coaching comes up, which I've been doing for years for free for so many people, and I can see the results. However, every time like I even begin to talk about it, there's this lump in my throat, which we need to get rid of. We need to step into our purpose and monetize it. There's all this shame around money, which just needs it just needs to stop. When
Yeah.
I still remember someone told me when I was like, I just want to do nonprofit back in college. Um, and I was told it's a very long and lonely road. But what I have noticed recently, it's not lonely. If women, at least when women come together, the way we lift each other up, it's phenomenal. And that's how God has created us. We are like, I think we are the best creation, and He says it as well that He has created. And it's just not the time to dim our light anymore, especially with all the exposure that we have. We can finally have our voice heard. Um, and it doesn't have to be on political levels anymore. Look at the
Right.
influencers around us. Look at, and it doesn't, once again, I love when what Jenna Kutcher always says, that we worry so much about our followers, and I'm guilty of that as well. Oh, that, I only have this many listeners, whether someone's going to come on live with me or not. Once I have 1,000 followers, we keep on looking at the number, but it's like having a dinner with like 5 friends, but then you are out on the street. She said that she was like, it's like you're out on the street calling more people, but those people on the dining table are looking forward for you to talk. So that's, I mean, I made the 60,000 that I made in 2021 was from 300 followers. And I was so new to Instagram and just all these things that I never figured out, and slowly and gradually. And I'm still not, because this work I feel so passionately about, there's still like WoWMeeM does, I have to admit, gets a little bit ignored, but you just show up. There's no room. We have no more excuses left. We have to full. We can, as women, we're so used to pouring out of an empty cup. Just so used to it. We never ask. I mean, I did that myself. I used to wake up, make breakfast for the kids, then it's something else, then it's something else. And then I was like, I don't eat till like 1 p.m. And it's no one's fault. It's not my kid's fault. It's not my husband's fault. It's my fault. So one
Yep.
thing, even if it's like drinking glass of water, wake up and just do that for yourself. Don't even
Mhm.
get to coffee. Just drink that water, take those 3 minutes, start
Mhm.
with those 3 minutes, and watch like slowly and gradually. Because I am guilty of all of that. Before WoWMeeM started, I used to feel sick every single day. And I used to get sick all the time. And things just it just easier to see, oh, she shows up now, she has a successful business, but it takes courage above all to just step into it. No, when I used to listen to Kathy and I used to be like, oh, there's no chance I would ever be in the space of women. There's no chance. I still remember Made to Do This was out in 2021 earlier. And I was like, people have that type of money to buy these programs. Will I ever have like this extra money to just buy a 3,500 program? And now I just took the leap of taking the mastermind program with her. Um, and there were so many times where my ego was like, are you, and it wasn't even the mastermind program, it was more of like the leap I wanted to take to make sure that I deliver where I need to, so that money I can pay off for.
Hmm.
So all you got to do is just trust yourself. I was reading this poetry in Urdu, but what it said was like, basically everything is within your heart. The secret to success is right there in your heart. Even if you don't believe in God, at least believe in yourself. You don't, whatever it is, it all, because He has given us everything. And sometimes we just feel small, we just feel so cornered, we just feel not there, but we can shine. We all can shine. We are all worth it.
Yeah. I would ask, what's, your best advice for someone that wants to step into their courage? What's the first thing that you would want someone to know, or what could someone do to really find their light,
Sometimes I would close my eyes and see what I want to do. Like when I started a product-based business, I felt so passionate about nonprofit that I thought for profit was always like, oh my God, who does businesses? I don't, whatever. Um, One thing we have to figure out, and I figured it out the hard way, I just always thought just because you have a good heart, life is perfect, and it's not. I have seen hatred, I have been put down, and that's something that really puts a shadow on all your light. No matter like how strong you are, someone hating you really doesn't settle in well. So when I started WoWMeeM, it was something that I could do at that time. I wasn't a creator, I became a curator. I ordered things from online from Pakistan. I put the pictures up, I put the prices up. It wasn't like DM me for prices. People appreciated that so much that prices are right there. And I didn't look anywhere else. Because at that time, that was the only thing. But I still remember the very first week when we launched WoWMeeM, I prayed to God that I was like, this is not my end step, but let it be my first step. I never thought about being a podcaster. I never, just like I said, I was like 6, 7 years later because I just felt, because everything was on a credit card, so I had to pay it off. And it took like literally 6 months to just pay everything off. But you just gotta work on it. And I'm gonna say that someone who is in resistance, one of the things that I've heard recently, and Kathy said it too. So, Atomic Habits has been a huge success. I think there's not a single person who hasn't read it or haven't, like, so James Clear, when he was asked what's like the best habit to make you most successful, he said the company that you keep, right? And then when I look around, sometimes we feel so lonely because we know the company we have, and unfortunately this is the most unfortunate thing. I believe the people who are closest to us understands us the least, right? And put us down the very first, the minute you put out your dream, they'll be like blah 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 blah, this is why it cannot happen. And unfortunately that's what we are surrounded by. However, what I did was, because all of my best friends and people who were my rocks, they are very, very far away from me. My best friends got married and they're in other states and in the other countries. I started listening to podcasts, which is free. There are so many. I know there's one that's gonna align with you. And if you can find one, just go to Kathy. I love Jenna Kutcher. I love Mel Robbins. Her podcast is coming up soon. And start reading books. And
Yep.
if you cannot read, then start listening to books.
Yep.
That's only $15 that you're gonna invest in yourself. You get one book on Audible. Start listening to it.
I love Audible. I love listening. I just love listening to books and driving in the car. I'm always listening to something. Are you still there?
I
Okay.
had a call coming. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
here. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good.
You said
Yeah,
you love Audible.
I do love Audible. And podcasts. I mean, I love listening to stories and you can really connect with people.
And that way
Okay,
you
so
don't have you noticed that you don't feel lonely anymore once you get into that container? And then you start attracting people.
yeah.
I love what Kathy said during her retreat is you sometimes have to see, and I've started to do that as well, in all honesty, that where is your energy at during the day? You exactly know if you call someone where that energy is going to drop to or whether it's going to go up. So just maybe take that break for 6 months
Hmm.
and just focus on yourself because we keep on thinking, oh my gosh, what are they going to think? They're going to think she's all in her head. She thinks all that about herself, blah, 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 blah. Because even though in the most perfect way, women do lift each other up, but the damage we cause to each other is not even a fraction of a fraction that men can do. So there's always other side to the coin, but I think even if you can find friends, which is I know very hard these days, especially when you become mothers, it's very hard to meet new people. You're no longer in college. So start listening to podcasts, write to people, connect with people who you think are like-minded, make a community. People have made millions of dollars just off of communities, and they just started with one member and then a membership and then retreats and then lectures and then empowerment, and it's just been done over and over and over again. So the first thing we need to do is just clean the energy around us, and that's one thing that is undeniable, that like it just, the gifts are always there. I always say that the gifts are always there when you look around, and abundance belongs to those who desire it. So you have to feel that yes, everything is abundant. Money, I was recently stuck in this block where I was like, I have all these opportunities coming, I'm showing up, all these projects, I need more money. But then if I'm closing myself up, money will show up one way or another. It has to. But you just get out of your way, get the money part out, and just start walking in your purpose. And sometimes the purpose is hard to find. So you just start with what feels good. And I started with like a skincare routine. And that kind of changed a lot of things for me. I still struggle with work-life balance. I still struggle with the routine. But that's one thing I realize I don't want for my kids. So when I see that they have a routine, they have a good schedule, where I'm still working on their schedule, then that gives me energy as well, because I'm not, at least I'm not setting them up for what I was set up for. I always had insomnia issues. I think all of us women do. Um, but we just, sleep is so important for your brain to work. So start taking care of yourself, one thing after another. Go for a facial, go for like whatever the smallest things you can do, and that's all there is to it. It's not as complicated as we think it is, but at the end I would just like beg everyone to just look at within ourselves. It's an inside job,
Hmm.
we can find peace outside. And one thing that I always say is like our money stories are so flawed, it's not even funny.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's
The
so
stories that
flawed.
we're telling ourselves that are just lies. And it's something that you picked up maybe along the way as a child and it stuck with you.
And money, I understand 100% that where our parents or the prior generations come from, that it was hard, right? They didn't have social media at that time.
Yeah.
They didn't have kids making billions of dollars while they're not even a teenager, like while they're like almost the age of my shoe size, right? Um, so, but now it's not. Now the peace is the hard part. And that's
Hmm.
one thing. I was recently introduced to someone and I met her and like she had everything I could have dreamed for, but there was no peace inside. There was no fulfillment. So money is not going to do that for you. It's a good resource. It's good for power. It's good for freedom, but it's an inside job. I was told recently talking to someone, she was like, "Why are you so worried about money all the time?" I am a millionaire and it took me years to see that money, even though it was coming, because I didn't do the inner child work that I was supposed to do.
Yeah, that's really powerful.
So we put our energies where they're not supposed to be. Show up on Instagram every day and say something that's on your heart. And I bet you start coaching 2 months later, people are gonna be drawn to you already.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're
I
welcome.
feel so blessed to just to know you and to be able to hear your story. Can you just share where everyone can find your website and find like what's the best place to contact you and all of that?
Instagram is the best way. We can there's Let's Come Forward, there's WoW.meeM, which is my clothing business. There is a link if you want to contribute anything towards the food project. I would love for you to do that. Even if you can do $1, it would mean the world to someone. It will feed them for that night. Maybe they'll have a download in their head that tomorrow morning they'll look for something else to do.
Yeah.
It just I just was told this story this morning we were talking about those school children, and Pakistan has like an amazing production of mangoes, like, the best mangoes in the world. They're known for mangoes. And the principal of that school said that we had a mango day. Someone like brought in mangoes for those kids, and the kids had no idea what they were.
Wow.
And even though I was born and raised there, I was 7 years old when I came. I stayed there a year when I got married. I cannot imagine that myself. So the privilege that we have no idea. We have absolutely no idea of what we are sitting on. There's air conditioning, there's light, there's clean water, and we have internet. So we have no more excuses to just not stepping into our purpose.
Yeah.
You are doing a podcast, so you have that mic and so many people who can listen to this. So we all have a job to do,
Yeah.
and we are my son once said, "Are we the chosen ones?" And at that time, I kind of like held back, but now I tell him every day, yes, we are chosen ones, because look at our house, look at the clean water, look at the school that you go to, because there are certain kids who do not have any of that. So we are the chosen ones to take care of those.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that just gave me chills. That's so sweet. How old is he?
He's 6 years old. He's going to turn 7 next month.
So sweet. So sweet. Okay. So are you thinking about starting a podcast?
Yes. It
Yay!
has been on my mind. And and this is where you start. I mean, I always, ever since I started listening to Kathy, I always wanted to do a podcast. Thought never had the time, never had the chance. So I started doing Instagram lives, and that was another way to connect with people. And later on, I can just use these audios and just put it on my Instagram, on the
Absolutely.
podcast. And on top of it all, you're making connections. It's like, look at the way we are just, so you're in, where are you at right
I'm in
now?
Texas.
I'm in Virginia. So look at just the connection
Hmm.
that we are able to make. And I know this is going to last a very, very long time. Um,
Yes.
but it's just so much easier. It's so easy to connect with people. Let
Yeah.
your ego go. Just connect.
Yeah, I love
Connect
that.
with
And
women.
I think we make it so much harder than it has to be. It can be simple, you know, like I'm stepping into that right now. Just stepping out of my comfort zone and messaging you, you know, and like let me just see what this, you know, like maybe she'll answer, maybe she won't. I don't know, but I've got to try, you know? And I think just sharing, you know, sharing your story is so powerful.
Thank you so much. I still remember when I started Let's Come Forward, I had like 70, 75 followers at that time. And there was this lady, Gail Keys Ellen. She's also part of Kathy's circle. And she has now started to coach and she's doing so magnificently well and making the difference. And at that time she had thousands of followers. I was like, but I really wanted to talk to her and live was something that was perfect. So I just messaged her. I was like, I'm so inspired by your story. You are more than welcome to say no. But I just want to ask, right? And when she came on, and I acknowledged her for that, and I was like, I feel the honor, and the voice still rings in my ears. She said, all you gotta do is ask. So anyone you hear on a podcast, just know, and if you connect with them, this was meant to be. There's so many
Yeah.
podcasts out there. There's so many guests on the podcast, but there's certain ones. I don't even know how I stumbled upon Kathy. I don't even know certain people who have been on Instagram live with me or are gonna come later this month. I could have never thought that they would say yes to me to come on live, but the connection was already made. It was supposed to happen the way
Yeah.
it did. So it just, you will be surprised when you give yourself the permission. And that's
Yeah.
one thing we don't do. I am very, very guilty of that. I am starting a mastermind yet. I just, and I know I have so much to offer, yet I have still trouble coming on live and just talking about what I
Hmm.
have to offer for
Yeah.
money this time. But we are all guilty of that. And this is not the time for it because we
Yeah.
have to shine, put your purpose right in front of you and start walking today towards it and watch the pathway will be paved for you. And I've seen it. I know it's like such a cliche statement. If I can do it, everyone can do it. But I swear to you, if I can do it, anyone can do it. I used to feel sick all the time. I stopped seeing people. I never felt comfortable in, like a gathering. I denied all the invitations I got. I was just in this very dark hole, and no one is going to take you out except for yourself. Not even your spouse, not even your kids. No
Yeah.
one is going to do that for you. There's no one coming. So you better
Yeah.
get up and start walking towards your pathway.
Make it happen.
Make it happen.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're
You're
welcome.
such a
Robyn,
beautiful soul.
I can just keep on looking at you and talking all day because
I know.
I know you're going to make a difference in your
Thank
life
you.
and others as well. I can just see it in your eyes, the compassion and just the pain. And this is all what we need. We need that little bit of pain
Yeah,
for us to
absolutely.
keep on going. We need those cracks within us so the light can come in. We
Hmm.
have heard all of this and we have read all of this, but we just need to hear this all the time.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you. And we'll have to do this again another
Yes,
time.
yes,
And
of
you'll
course.
have to share with me about your mastermind and all the things that you have coming up.
Okay, I will for sure.
Okay. Thank
Thank you so
you.
much. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, bye.